out of Real, but he's still a Royal. Oshe Baby Ofria from Real Sociedad, the Basque region. But he had to prove himself elsewhere before he was accepted to be part of that Real Madrid royalty. Toward the Nenibe Chechre, it was at Liverpool. Then he gave the world how brilliant he was as a footballer. Then eventually Madrid will come calling. So I will want to look at particularly, I think, 4 summers that have influenced the story about Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid. The first summer will be summer 2009. Madrid, after Perez, Befa, Bobo Koni Bion, decided to make them one of the big clubs or the giants again, and I said to awaken the sleeping giant. That was the same summer they decided to go all out and look at, say, the Benzema Mabwa, we need to take it a step further. So Benzema, Ronaldo, Kaká, Alonso will form a part of SAR project now, and that will lay the foundation for winning the La Decima, and then even destabilizing Barca's dominance over the domestic front. Alonso was part of that project. But as every good story is told about the beginning, again, there will be that farewell story. I best signal at the end. Alonso will leave, and then he will leave to join Bayern Munich, summer 2014. It was at the time Ancelotti is not prepared with Alonso because he had renewed in the winter of 2014, January. Then Bayern Munich came calling with an offer. Alonso pleaded with Perez, Summer 2014, summer 2018, Alonso returns again to the Real Madrid fold. This time around, I think I was starting the coaching badges at the RFEF, Royal Spanish Football Federation. But the video be sent to Spain for a year, and they say it was a certain era of Spanish players. It was here the Omura coaching him near to me, Pedro or Mudru stage be a bebo or mine. And among this batch, you'll find Marco Senna, Juan Capdevila, Xavi Hernandez. Then you will find Victor Valdez. The OTHA as in Alberto Riera of Liverpool. Exactly. So this batch, even including Julio Batista on Brazil of Madrid, but he was all part. So this batch of former Spanish footballers or former footballers or mobile bomber Spain, and even played for other clubs in Spain. This is seen as one of the most definitive moments Spain in terms of introducing former players into coaches. So 2018 no yen badges no. Then he came to Madrid obefa on under 14 side, the Infantil. Now Raul Nya, the La Fabrica no, La Real. Then eventually Omobiodi Omohua away. After that time we in badges, he decided say when you're coaching Navy, but also caught testing who baby because Madrid no. Oh who say Hodi University, but Yemfiti Precoso employers as a Mojana Beba. So he needs to go elsewhere. Prove himself worthy, and then come. No, the call Real Sociedad or Mutim B, no. That was in summer 2019. So Real Sociedad Team B, it was one Leverkusen by October 2022, baby. Then he accepted that job. But he always had this in mind. Said there will be that moment he needs to come to Real Madrid. Until Leverkusen contract or signing him saying a certain break clause if Madrid comes calling. Sika omubetu yana so betu kra. Anamebwa. So he had that in mind. There were 2 clubs in his heart. Liverpool, Real Madrid. But topmost, they never done a koma sopano. Ne Real Madrid a return. Summer 2025. Alonso has eventually returned to Real Madrid. So 4-5 summers that has defined this Alonso Real Madrid story. The coming, the goings, and then the final arrival. He is coming now as Obi Awabeno, Oba boy, Oba Besuai, Bafedia, Oba Wabra, all betnetini. And I think these will be crucial elements that will help his game. Once the Shadrach he show pictures, but in case show Ancelotti Alonso, Anna will show Mourinho Alonso. Obesanso show Pep and then Alonso. And then I'm the Babe concept no. Ancelotti will book me. Quiet leadership. Winning hearts, minds, and matches. Bebe say me break here no down, I made this sound come away. 3 coaches he worked under would actually define how his Real Madrid spell will go. At Madrid, he needs to win the minds of players. He needs to win the hearts of players. And then he needs to win matches. And Nabemu realizes the success that he aspires to achieve and then eventually become a great. So let's break it down. Winning minds. Omami Mourinho Dieno. When Mourinho was at Madrid, which Alonso was part, there was this deliberate political attempt by Mourinho to break the dressing room and then also break Barca's dominance. Now Mourinho suspected say Spain players need be more Madrid team no. They are not really in sync with the person here, and some were loyal more to Barca than to say Mourinho didn't say Tito Villanova near. You will play a bit or no Spain or Team Madrid dressing room in ninja. Eka Casillas, Sergio Ramos. Alonso was also a Spanish teammate of these players, but he remained loyal. Understanding the politics of things at times are crucial. You might not agree to everything your coach does, but provided say it brings success to team, no. As a player, would you have complaints? The coach no, ebia when umpe. But at the Kunimdia break club, no, and indeed it did. Madrid won the league by 100 points. They scored 121 goals. It broke Barca's dominance. And see, Barca being 100 points in it. Yeah. Exactly. Eventually, he laid the foundation. They won the Champions League. La Decima team no more the Champions League. Alonso cry more final Nibio. Was it not the core of the team Mourinho had put together? So he won their mind. For Mourinho, creating that siege mentality, creating that storyline of us versus the world, it helped to eat into a core of the players. Sadia and the young Gina Pintin, Nian Confirma Madrid Bagino. Alonso will need such. In this current Real Madrid setup, he needs to win their minds. It was a players ni nan and a yard and say coach in the Opesoy and Ebu Okra Mempe me Vini Junior. Left wing one and a bomber Nikoye, but Mempe coach Neso Obey Yusumo a maye.
Okay.
What you say? Coach Nese on bomb or left wing. Me Vini Junior maye. Send your Bayer team ni bedun kunim. Di Maria, Madrid J Champions League la Decima no boy. Was it his preferred position?
Left, yeah.
But their minds had already been won for the Madrid cause. And in this case, Alonso will need to win the minds of the Madrid players for the Madrid cause. Not for Alonso's cause, not for the players' cause, but for the club. So he would need a lot of the expertise or tapping from Mourinho to win the minds of these Real Madrid players, to buy into what he wants to do to achieve for the club. Winning the heart. Omami Alonso ni Ancelotti. Yatina hadi Ancelotti who advance here say, if you are looking for coaches who are expert at man management, Osa Ancelotti who kofo bi ansha na when nini ye ana wanye ni ye meboa. Exactly the point. You can win the minds of players, but it is different from also winning the heart. Ancelotti or buy or bet two Mourinho team. No, Mourinho had already prepared the team, but he also needed to prove a point. Mourinho the no name watch him or more Mourinho, assembly or more Mourinho. So if Ancelotti comes, what does he need to do? He needs to win the heart and mend the fractured dressing room division there. Woman, he won their heart, and Alonso will need to win the heart of these Real Madrid players. You were more. Omania chisa Ancelotti ko. And you were more so ebe yo mo yakakrasa Ancelotti oko. The moment he steps in, every player needs to warm himself to Alonso. He needs to win their heart. Did you see Ancelotti hono? I feel no debate juma. And it is interesting say Sadia no debate juma. It is right after Ancelotti has left the job. He needs to come, take the job, and win the hearts of players.
Yes, it will players ne bi kura mu dada.
Exactly. So he needs to win their heart, especially the key ones. Mbappe mo, because you need the key players to be in sync with the opposite. You need them to actually be in bed with you. So he needs to win their hearts as well. Then win matches. Obe winning minds, obe winning hearts. Now one fan winning matches. Madrid na a resource oriented team. Yabe pamo. Ehon obe hiya Pep odieno. if you are looking for the finest football coaches, now you have additions about transfers, player management anyway. Pep is the go-to guy. Me sure say in recent times, coach be in Ethiopia, what bouncing Pep tactics ne yeshe teams. Me sure. So if he needs to win matches, that is where the tactical aspect of his game needs to come to bear. He needs to be tactically and technically apt. And there is no role model to learn that from than Pep Guardiola. She team yem bobo efe, yem winning matches, yem back on streaks, yem Jim Krua. Nobody is beyond Pep. So Ancelotti, Alonso's blueprint for succeeding at Madrid has been shaped by a certain working relationship with these three coaches. Winning the minds of the Real Madrid players, tap into Mourinho. Winning the hearts of the Real Madrid players, tap into Ancelotti. Winning matches and winning trophies, tap into Pep Guardiola. And I think these three principles will eventually define how he becomes a Real Madrid, whether a success or otherwise. But more GDA. So when the baby are working in Nam any day, all years seen in this no. I don't think there is a room for more failure than success at Madrid. Tienibion. Man can say failure, I say more failure. He will fail at Madrid, but he will be more successful. He will fail nature say, and ye bibi obey bia ne be ye.
Obe lose
matches. Exactly.
Yet obe GB.
But he will be successful and he will be great. Ebeboa amanyo betimi akonenim. Emreninti mamin traso. Why?
Whoa, Mate, me that's Mike. Steve.
Yo, Steven Gerrard, Kasai William said, and I was 20 years since Liverpool, the Champions League in Istanbul, until we heard the miracle of Istanbul. A idea in the annals of European football, a deeper meaning or significance to Liverpool and Liverpool fans. But in an interview with Stanchard, and our cousin be said, I feel say the game is losing some bit of aggression in terms of how our players echo into game and their attitude on the field, especially certain positions via the aggression are no more a witness and as musia or the boy, you know, who say be ni game and ni down to street football now when he said anyone because previously now you have to play on the streets and street football, so they were in there, you will never take part. But is it a case of street football? And I say the remodeling of football and Amasa Niamani AC. Because share typically Sanka coach you are here. You can say Obi number 6. The first thing that comes to mind is an aggression. So hard tackler. So ball no obey. If you miss the man, don't miss the ball. That sort of mentality. But they say, who can still mind now casting the wide across Europe? Now every players are apply that position. You will struggle to get players more that aggressive factor no I will give him. See previously when Roy King, no more box to box to say Patrick Vieira, Obenya that of Makelele, Obenya Michaelesian. Look at those names. There's one thing I run it down Omunyina. That is that aggressive aspect of Omu game. No? But even with N'Golo Kante, Obebo Chelsea Obi Boni Dino, ni game no na down to excessive aggression.
Yes.
I am more of intelligence and getting the right tackle timely. That was what N'Golo Kante here with Chelsea and Leicester City and then in the French national team. But surprisingly, so who observe players are more a little bit of that trait now. They are struggling to fit into the modern game. And clearest example, Chomani and then Kamavinga. If you've watched their game very well, say anytime there's some bit of negatives about their game and how Omo fits into the modern game. And they are sniper number 6. Edina Omo Boni Zubimendi. Why in the recent time I won't that bit of Makelele instance when the game no Casemiro of Manchester United. He did that FC Porto and then Real Madrid and Oba United. But say he got out to to fetch for those players. You know? Why? Because the physique aspect and the remodeling of the game, no, game, no system na kakra. Now teams defend in group, a collective effort, not like a defined rule. Say this is what you have to do. Even number 6 are joining the game in offensive positions, doing their things very well. And you're down to say, over here aggressive, so tough, hard tackler in the game. But I am more of the intelligence, and more of the positional play. Nti coaches do on board no to obejina block a passing lane we you say. But I share these guys. You know Gattuso, Makelele. Omo dia no omo ba for 9 or ba for 9. Or ba for ball. How team say there's that thing in their game. But you team say street football no call. But the coaching, the modern coaching, you know, I added a different dynamics into the game in terms of that role. It's difficult to find such players. Now, before winning, although I'm share the current game now, I'm flourish it to say those times. See, Gravenberch have a share the whole ball. Yes, on your number 6, but born or born as a Liverpool in here be. But say I can see Liverpool in here play beer number 6. Straight away, the thinking will be Obia about some bit of grit. But Hunisa, Zubimendi any Saadi and when he gave him. But he's a typical Spanish footballer, sir, intelligent. Omu game, you know, I revolve so much about you using the mind. So Steve G has some now kind, you know, that's the reality. Game, you know, for baby differently, but it's more of the coaching tuition players in India. Anyhow, coaches want their number 6 to play.
To me,
not like in the days of Roy Keane or Bobby Chow, red cards here and there, as some sort of rivalry in that role. So the game is evolving, and it is evolving in the same way that coaches in a person game no call. So sir, type of players no be brave. Ntichomani about Real Madrid, but if you are being very sincere, Nia will be expected from Germany. That's not what you see on the field of play. But so share Pedri says here when he because or control ball no my game near simple or tackle not necessarily about the aggression but getting the job done. Every time I call Leverkusen. Now a lot of questions about the coaching. Over England also nya wotre or say errors come to an end, which means say how successful Manchester City and then Liverpool no feel say he is the man who be breaking the duopoly na eventually will win you. But I'm fat. Ono na Germany there. Ohunu say or in the league of club and then Pep Guardiola. That is how ohunu. But I'll by Leverkusen. Unfortunately, time I for team now is successful under a manager or party ways Real Madrid. So Senka for Leverkusen near say why the Ajax winner. That's not what they are expecting. Leverkusen will expect to be part of the Champions League, performing to a higher level. Omo who be down. No more Stefan Kingsley. Those times Leverkusen they were doing well with who means who yet they've performed in Europe. Now Omako is season unbeaten, and now they get a new manager. So the task for Erik ten Hag and they say proving himself say a United and I the conquer. But still he has that coaching swag to prove the point. Proving the point. Now another head when they say coach now we just Jumano to ma or befano or go all the way to the UEFA League final or challenge Bayern Munich edge the Bundesliga. So anything short of that, it will raise a lot of questions.
But I feel to say on that scrutiny match to say they know where our Man United. Yeah, Germany the umbe because I know or sign him league because so on a pep ne call Bayern no. Yeah.
Club name media need your
and Mike just said no more from Man so clearly. You want to say no.
You see
from new map I'm a room crab by see. because some of us free more permanent not Europe and not on losing game. And I'm worrying better also. Even in the Premier League, not points gap and a cry say.
But fancy, he will be judged by the standards of United. For us, I ask assembly member. He will be judged by the standards of the Xabi Alonso Ejao Leverkusen. Into on to me any
to me
were below that bar. So as I say, errors come to an end. Unfortunately, when Timia end the era no now end the on coach in my oje jumano to her ama okoy. So as I say. So interesting times, and I would want to see. Yeah, but at that time, I would try. I think komo bi awate no. At the said the mano some
goosebumps. Mano no one day.
At the said the boys in the takrane ya nyoma wo ewo ehono.
Yeah.
And no na our church mo nya would try kakra. Or say omo bi ni o maybe so achen to the point the pre-season crowd ye wie woni trim that the ever next season e there. Oh yeah, Arsenal fan, brace yourself for.
Whoa.